me. Look, I think what we are seeing is something that to a great extent we expected and the market expected. It's three things going on. We have a normalization of freight rates post-COVID that is still affecting very much our freight forwarding segment. We do see continued softness in the B2B market. That's what you're referring to. Somewhat recessionary trends, but it is bottoming out. But definitely not much life in the global economy in the third quarter. But on the B2C side, we are actually quite satisfied. We had some growth in our parcel operations, not only in Germany, but also in other consumer-orientated parcel networks. So it's these three things which make this, in our view, a pretty uneventful quarter.
Okay, so look, I hear what you're saying, and the B2B remaining very tough, and the post-COVID trend just evening out somewhat as well. I get that, but on that third point you raised, I'll follow you. The B2C, I can't see how B2C gets better from here. I may be missing the point, but I've just seen some pretty horrible figures regarding credit in the world's biggest economy and facing the consumer there. I keep seeing horrible figures coming out of Europe about what's going on economically, and I look at your Middle East and Africa unit, or your Asia Pacific unit, actually specifically, and I see an 18% decline as well. It just looks really tough. I can't see how the consumer can come to the rescue, Tobias.
So what you're referring to with Asia Pacific and EMEA is largely our express and forwarding business. And indeed, B2B volumes, as I mentioned, are still declining. And that's what we're seeing for quite a number of quarters now. And this is a trough on the B2B front, especially, that is unexpectedly long. This is why we had these three macro scenarios out, and we now are clearly saying the V recovery starting in the third quarter. We haven't seen it, so we have two remaining macro scenarios out. But on the B2C side, we do profit, obviously, from the shift to online. So I'm not saying that overall spending is significantly up, but we do see the revival of online taking share. That's what's happening in our parcel business.
Is there a problem when it comes to Asia Pacific, Tobias? So just looking at the numbers, double-digit fall here on the Asia Pacific revenue print.
We do definitely see some shifts, and you have to remember the comparables in Asia are quite tricky, because with China, we do see growth year on year, but it is on a lower baseline because we still had COVID measures in China last year. So if you take the longer comparison, then it is actually in China not the positive number that the year on year shows. In the other parts of Asia Pacific, it's the bit of the reverse, because there indeed we do see continued weakness in the trading. It is very difficult to really pinpoint it. Clearly electronics being very weak, clearly also equipment, investment goods, capital goods, that has continued weakness. But we also see signs, again, on the consumer side. We had a very strong start in the peak season. We had to actually get some additional charters to fly volume out of China in the last weeks. So we are still in that phase where it's clearly not a strong recovery. It's kind of wobbling along, and the B2B side is clearly trailing.
Tobias,